Where that echo was, but it's not going to matter. Kirk on the flank finds it down onto one. Riot's already down, so it's a technical 1 versus 2. And Bri just swung to his death. Twizzler on the top floor will look to retrieve their teammate, but a Kirk can find the timing and clutch it out. An ace for Kirk.
But Spider still gets a kill, and then Xer not ready for him in the corner, but oh my goodness, he gets the kill anyways!
He gets the kill, Teddy left alive. He does it yet again for Mirage!
He's low on health, especially when the Vulcan canisters are in play, but now Ambi low as well, but he takes the kill anyways! He's still left for 15 seconds and not too much intel as to where they are. It's not looking great for him, but he's just got the isolated frag on aim key, and the last one's left in Freezer. This could be a very easy pick to find if he just looks in the right corners with the shotgun as well. He'll be lethal in the close range. A 1-on-2 for the Gridlock.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Xenon Gaming Series quarterfinals here. Nature is healing. The Ubisoft servers were down. They're back up now, slowly but surely repairing themselves, which will give us an opportunity to provide you with the last game of tonight, hopefully. That's CINTANEGRA Esports versus Team SBL. And I am Corbeck, and alongside me is the wonderful Clips. Happy to be here with you. Looking forward to this game between two teams. This has the shapings to be a genuinely interesting one here, Clips.
Yeah, I'm more than excited for this game, Tristan. I think that this is going to be a banger series. I mean, these are two of the arguably better teams that we have in the playoffs. At least I would argue. We've got a lot of experience amongst both rosters. For the CINTANEGRA side, a lot of experience in the Mexican side. And for the SBL side, obviously, you've had a couple players that have had the Pro League experience route in the NAL. And going through our map veto, you'll see that we're kind of keeping it simple, at least for the first two maps. And should we need map number 3, we will end ourselves up on Nighthaven Labs. But to start, we'll be on Clubhouse and then the secondary map of Oregon. I think that this is somewhat favorable to Team SBL. They are very strong on both of these maps, at least in recent memory and watching them back in their qualifier round to qualify into playoffs from XGS for last week.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to cast too many aspersions right too early on here as we kind of hopping into game. We're trying to get this banged out because we know that we're an hour behind. But I do just want to add, I mean, CINTANEGRA like should not be slept on, right? They're a team that's coming out of LATAM. They have some very talented players. Skimzy, who I believe used to play for Six Karma. I mean, they, you know, he's played majors. He's played he played in the Copenhagen major, if I remember correctly. He's played, you know, top tier of LATAM. He was on the 6K team when they got the first place last year. So, you know, that's a really tough team. And I still feel, because I did SBL versus Osiris, it was only a best of 1. It was on Chalet, and I still feel like they underperformed a little bit, Klimt. So really, for them here, at least for me tonight, they've got something to prove here. And starting off on Clubhouse, I mean, it's a bread and butter map, like you said. I don't know. I have some concerns for SBL. Let's put it at that.
I will say it is shocking to not see any Heart Breacher bans, but that could be Team SBL thinking into their future of course, they're starting on the attack, so they want to try to build up as many rounds as possible early on and give themselves maybe a little bit more of an advantage. Tuberau off the board is kind of shocking. I know that Tuberau is a very lethal operator, especially it feels like in the Latin American scene, especially the Mexican scene, that you see a lot of Tuberau played. He's a very strong operator, very versatile, and I think that helps those teams to help deny and slow down teams and really make it tricky to try to open the hatches or the wall, whatever it may be that you're trying to deal with. So the Tuberau off the board does make sense in this instance for Team SBL, although would be considered a rather rare ban on the map of Clubhouse. Now, when we get to Oregon, that's a completely different story. But on Clubhouse, you still quite see the Tuberau ban.
And I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Klimt. You say slow down, right? Like any Rainbow Six Siege fan, if you spent a decent amount of time watching, you know, play at international levels or even just the regional leagues, you'll know that LATAM has a well-deserved reputation for sort of like speed and aggression. These are the things that they're really known for, which is probably why you see a lot of Tuberau, just the ability to kind of dictate the pace of the match. And it's always interesting to see when, you know, really good, dedicated LATAM teams who are really in the vibe of that kind of style come up against teams from other regions, such as SBL, you know, from the NA, because it is going to be a bit of a clash here. And the defensive side is probably not going to favor the aggression quite as much. But when the side flip comes in, you're going to want to watch CINTANEGRA and see just, how fast they get on the ball and how fast they execute these attacks against SBL.
Round begins. No aggressive spawn peaks, at least from what I can tell here from the side of CINTANEGRA. In past, Team SBL has played against a couple of teams that really enjoyed their spawn peaks, especially Osiris back in their first match here in XGS. Osiris, a very aggressive team, a very front-facing team, and like to make the round ugly before you can actually really have a chance to what some would call play the game at a strategic level. So sometimes causing that chaos and pandemonium can be very efficient, though, and can throw teams off their game, and that's why you saw Team SBL struggle so much way back then. Now, of course, every team has their own play style. CINTANEGRA, definitely a different style roster, much more traditional, but still will get aggressive when they need to.
I think really what CINTANEGRA is doing here, and obviously, will shape up a little bit as time goes on, but I do think they're just kind of letting time burn off the clock here as SBL slowly makes their way in. And then I think you will see the aggression kind of come out here as SBL starts to take more and more territory in the interior. I kind of expected Morph to be maybe one of the more aggressive players, but he's fallen quite, far back on the vigils, just kind of waiting at the bottom of Oil Pit, and that's a trap in and of itself, right, for any of these guys. Good attempt, by the way, to catch Flacco out there, but they're a little too canny, I think, to fall for stuff like that at this stage here, Clemson.
Valkyrie is going to be dangerous here for Team SBL if they're not keeping track of those cameras. Skimzy has walked all the way up the kitchen hallway. He's got a massive flank. The player on Chains missed him, and Skimzy gets the opening frag on a Spiff. That is one of the key players for Team SBL in this entire match, keeping Spiff up, enabling him to be successful, and unfortunately no one there from Team SBL on the flank.
Bro, I like being right sometimes, so we'll likely. I knew they were going to get aggressive eventually. It's only a matter of time. This has been a really good effort, by the way, to dislodge Fatal from Blue. We shouldn't discount that right there. They really forced that Mira out of position. Good use of the util as well. Now the defensive util coming in. Flacco finishing off another one there. That's Poison caught on the drop down into Moto. 30-ish seconds left on the clock here. Flacco's just waiting with the shotgun. Little ambitious there. And Asian tying that back up by taking down Skimzy. This is good position here for Asian to threaten in, but again, they actually have to get onto the site here. I just don't think they quite have the tools in place to do it just yet. They're flanking from 3 different angles, all separately. Lose one of those gunfights like Fatal just won right there. Fatal picking up another one. That should limit these options pretty severely here for the remaining member of Rice. You can't close in from that many directions and, lose the gunfights. You actually have to get the kills. Rice gets one on Morph. Looking for the final one. 3 seconds left. It's stuck on the hole right there. They're just going to wait it out on the CINTANEGRA side, and that's the end of that.
Team SBL a little slow on their attack. Obviously, I think that flank from Skimzy catching out Spiff early on did not help. But that's going to be the plays that CINTANEGRA are going to make. I mean, they did it excellently, and I wish we had a replay for it. But all that happened was you had a nitrocell, right, blow up right under the main stairs, and that nitrocell wasn't used to kill anyone, but it was rather used in coordination with the Valkyrie camera info to help the smoke run up the main stairs being undetected. Now, if anyone had been on the Chains door rappel there, or at least holding that door from SBL, then yeah, Skimzy probably dies and isn't able to get away with it. However, because no one was there, because no one had put themselves in that position, Skimzy was able to get a freebie, and honestly, they're probably walked away with another one or 2 kills, but he played it smart. He ran away knowing that taking a body and getting back to site is so invaluable on clubhouse basement defenses that in the meta we're in, it takes teams a long time to push. It takes them a lot of time to coordinate their execute, and having one less man to do it makes it infinitely more difficult.
5 seconds to insert.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like complacency was kind of the watchword right there, like they got a little too comfortable with the idea. And I mean, rightly so, because a lot of teams, when they rotate back down to the basement, right, like they're not coming back out like that aggressive. That's an outlier. But I think they just got way too comfortable with the idea that nobody was going to push from basement, and then, just catches them off guard. Well, I'll play. And CINTANEGRA will take that first round. I won't say it was easy, but with relative ease, let's put it at that here as we move on to Gym Bedroom. Here, probably the, sometimes the primary site, sometimes the secondary site, always one of the ones that gets played. Morph holding Rafters, and that's a heck of an extension right there, and kind of a wasted one at the moment because there's really not a lot of members of SBL over there. There's certainly some repositioning going on the roof right now, as it looks like members of SBL are trying to kind of recalculate their attack angle here a little bit. But this is burning a lot of time. Good kill though. Fatal down, Clemps, and that'll help. There's that first kill you're talking about.
It goes down early. Great pick for Team SBL. You take down the Warden. That's going to be super helpful, especially when you use those flashbangs later in the round. Maybe now Asian will be more willing to use those smoke canisters to block off line sides, or maybe mirrors that could be impacting them later in the round, should he not be able to get those mirror windows opened up as the quick drones. Got Flacco working a potential flank up secret here, just waiting, kind of buying time, right? That's the name of the game, especially when you're down a man. This flank has to work. The win condition, absolutely. Got a player close on the red stairs, but as they walked through lounge, they were watching this position that Flacco's sitting in, and there may be a drone. There is information. Poison drinks the drop on the blue window, finds the kill, and that puts SBL in an even further advantage than they were before.
Basically a drone check right there, making sure that, you know, you're doing your work. And they were, at least at that time. Asian's going to lose one of those Twitch drones, actually, to Morphed early on. That's a little bit frustrating because there's still a lot of defense to cut through here. And SBL, despite getting those early kills here, Clemps, this is a pretty one-dimensional attack, at least from the looks of it. A little bit of diffuser swapping coming in. And yeah, they've got a lot of bodies stacked up over here on cash. They're going to need to diversify their portfolio just a little bit, I think, if they want to make this work.
But I think as long as they're able to get rid of the FNAP mines and dodge the C4, the skins he's got in his pocket, I think that this could be a really good round. What a trade by Spit and Skinsy. They both take each other down. But that's definitely a win in the book of Team SBL, because now they've got the 4-on-2, a really deep advantage, and the Nitro Cell has been taken off the board. Poison will probably leverage those flashbangs to grab some control, or at least flash these defenders off of their locations, as there's only 15 seconds left. The move has to come from SBL, and Asian walks through the condor, finds one. Rice trying to walk through as well, not able to find anyone, but Nick has hopped into Jim, getting thread of that last body of Caden, and a really, really clean attacking round out of Team SBL.
Yeah, numbers telling right there, Clemps, I think is a big part of that, right? You saw them establish the highway control. You're in a 4v2 if you're on the CINTANEGRA side. You just don't have enough guns to cover everywhere that you need to cover. You know, they did a good job of splitting out there at the end and setting up those angles of attack, coming in, you know, 3 different ways, basically: the highway, Logi, and then through construction. And really, it was just CINTANEGRA trying to pick an angle. And at the very tail end, maybe if the shot had gone in there from Caden, I think it was Caden who was last standing, if the shot had gone in and they had actually managed to take down one of the members of SBL, they could have made a little bit more of a fight of it, but it felt like it had already run away from them at that point.
I think it's a good call from CINTANEGRA to transition over to the CCTV cache side here. Yeah. Jim didn't look too good for them. And honestly, you really have to credit that, not to CINTANEGRA losing it, but rather to Team SPL just being so good with their information. They feel like, at least through that, or that second round rather, and obviously that's too early to tell if their information game has picked up and is just really that strong, but it felt really clean. It felt like they knew where everyone on CINTANEGRA was the entire time that round. And if they're able to continue to leverage that as they go on, you can see Team SBL really become one of those strong attacking teams that they do have the ability to be, especially with the strong roster core that they have. I mean, they've got the brains, they've got the brawn to get everything done in the round. They just have to make sure that it can all be done in a synchronous effort to actually lead and contribute to round wins, which through 1 round or through 2 rounds, it has at least for one of them.
Morphin in a very aggressive defensive position right here. Oh, that's a bold time to be making those shifts. I see what he's going for here, just trying to catch the Montaigne looking. Wow. Actually gets one, nearly picks up the second there as well. Poison shifting that shield just in time, but a good early kill right there to take Spiff out of it. And it's unfortunate for them to lose that Finka there as well. I mean, that's the healing gone for the rest of the round, something that you would desperately like to have, not to mention the body in and of itself. And that'll probably slow the roll of SBL just a little bit here. I mean, how are they going to get around the defenses that are being set up? All these barricades up here at the top of the line, Clemps. I mean, that Montaigne's going to have to do some serious work to clear space.
And we've seen Poison be rather successful on the Monty, at least sometimes week in and week out. There's some times where it has not quite attributed the way that he wants it to, but it does work in some effort in some ways. And one quick comment: only people born south of the United States border seem to just have so much confidence in running out of breaches that are open like that. It's incredible to see that Mark was able to get it as Asian walks in through Lounge, at least finds one, but Skimzy has got the trade and keeps CINTANEGRA with the man advantage. That's ever so important, especially considering one of the final members alive from Team SBL is still the Montaigne, who has taken a healthy licking of damage, and there's still a Nitrocell and plenty of goo mines on the board, really putting Team SBL in an arguable 4 versus 2.
They just can't pick the lock of this garage defense. It's rare you see a garage defense that's, I mean, honestly, quite this convincing, but to a certain extent, SBL has played into it. The Montaigne's health is so low now that he really doesn't have much room to try and push up those stairs and engage. He's just asking for trouble. This is a good play by Nick, just slipping in underneath, trying to use the Montaigne as a distraction. Great play right there from SBL, actually, to open that up. I got to give him a lot of credit for that. Good use of the Montaigne as a distraction, but there's still so much ground that they're going to have to cover right here. Rice in a position where maybe they can think about trying to swing around. The diffuser's still in the hands of Montaigne, so they've got some coverage for it, but how much coverage? Nick there throwing down those Thatcher grenades as the plant comes in. Nick trying to provide coverage. His health is simply too low. Skimzy swings out and engages in a little tete-a-tete. Neither of them quite find it. Here comes the push across the board. All the defenders coming forward. Rice holding off of the balcony, though, will get one, then drops. 2v2, the way to go here is the Montaigne drops. You've got one more person to deal with. Good angle right there, but fatal with a nasty headshot. Allows them to finish the defuse.
Wow. Jaden able to stick the defuse with lots of confidence that his teammate of Fatal would be able to sit there and hold. But I will say that that diffuser being tucked that deep against the bomb chassis often leaves it very difficult, unless that breach is fully opened up, to actually be able to peek and contest that angle. And unfortunately, it just wasn't opened up wide enough for Rice to really be in a successful position. Even with him accidentally falling off the balcony, it's still really difficult to find that angle and not to get pre-fired or have someone already being there in that position on the defense. So, solid effort by Team SBL. I mean, they were in the disadvantage the entire time, so at least having the opportunity to get the diffuser down is still a win in someone's book. But, obviously, you would want that win to contribute into a total win, or into a total round win. So, getting the diffuser down in that situation, yeah, you could argue that that's pretty good. However, it would have been really nice to convert on that round and give yourself a nice little lead, actually, in your attacking half. Something that you don't often see on Club.
You know, I think it shows too, really, Clips, that like SBL definitely has teeth, right? Like CINTANEGRA doing a good job of shutting down the plan right there. Great adaptation, right, from SBL. I think Poison is their IGL right now, called that really well. Good plan to rotate underneath, Nick underneath in garage and open that up. I mean, I gotta give them a lot of credit for it. The fact that it didn't quite manifest is just unfortunate at the end of the day. You know, they made a very solid effort, and that's good that they're not kind of taking anything for granted, I guess, against CINTANEGRA. Like they're playing this all out. This is a team that feels much more determined than they did against Osiris. Much more coordinated as well, I will say.
It's also nice to get them these repped in for these teams, right? As
100%.
more leagues start to come up, nice to start to figure out what you've got, and every rep matters as your team continues to piece together more and more. Team SBL looking strong. Got to try to convert on maybe one of these basement techs. Really, really nice, although it's highly unlikely. It would definitely be beneficial for themselves, especially going into the defensive half, which I feel like these bans are leveraged so that the attackers should have a little bit of an easier time, in theory. Now, that's not always the case because it is Clubhouse and it's been traditionally a defender-sided map, but slowly we've seen it start to turn and convert, especially based on the way that the bans play into it, to be a little bit more friendly to the attackers. I wouldn't say favored, but at least a little bit more favorable and friendly enough to where you could actually get that 3-3, maybe even a 4-2 split.
Ooh, a 4-2. Dare you dream. Early kill, by the way, coming in for Asian right there. That'll be Morph 2 down. Morph just had a rough run of it here early on. The drop by Asian, trying to claim the kill. A little Assassin's Creed action, doesn't find it, but Spiff does. Skimzy's down. And now the 3v5 being set up here by SBL. They're running it back. Asian finds Caden T running around. Flacco will trade back almost immediately. Just firing that shotgun through the doorway as he retreats. Fatal trying to stave it off as well. And a 2v4 here. Shades of round 2 in action right now as the plant goes down. Fatal stepping across through here into the hole of Church. He'll get brought down. A good attempt to come back. The shotgun's doing huge work here as the diffuser goes down.
Bomb down. Poison just tucks nicely in the corner. Flacco has to try to retake. That's his own Goyle canister on the wall. Did it destroy it? Wait, what happened? Did it fizzle into nothing? Because there was a Vulcan canister on the blue door, and it fizzled out. But as far as I understood, if you tear down the barricade, it's supposed to actually get.
Yeah,
that's really weird that happened. Anyway. I'll talk about what actually happened in the round, other than that weird bug that like totally tripped me out because I thought it was gonna kill him, and I thought that was how I was gonna be able to talk about the end of the round. But Team SBL, really solid attack there. I mean, you kind of just had Asian going a complete tear, something that he's not been doing as of late, but definitely has that ability to. I mean, we've seen him throughout many years, you and I, Tristan, of commentary. Yeah. We've seen Asian do absolutely despicable things to other people on the other team, and and to see him do that in this round. Really good promise, right? Hopefully, you know, he starts to get back into that form, because I feel like Asian's one of those players who has fallen off a little bit from where we expected him to be when he got into Pro League. And not to discredit Asian, I still think he's a very good player. I've had good conversations with him. But I feel like he's not that caliber of player that he knows he can be. And if he's able to continue to do that in more rounds, especially for Team SBL, and Team SBL can enable Asian to do those things, then I think that you could see Team SBL be very, very successful going into the future, and potentially even all these players, you know, start to really re-spark some of their careers, which you could argue have been on the downtrend as of late. So it'd be really nice to see that for all of them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Certified Lover Boys, which is where they're getting most of their roster from on the side of SBL. I mean, they did all right in Element 2. They're solid. I do think in the main, though, they probably haven't gone as far forward as they wanted to, right? Like, just in general. I think that's not necessarily a sign that they're bad or that they're failures. There are only so many slots, you know, at the end of the day. And I think a lot of them have the potential to go higher. And I think that's one of the reasons why this SBL team is really good for them. Like you've been talking about, right? It's good to get reps in. It's good to get practice. It's good for development. And I'm sure CINTANEGRA would tell you the same thing too, just from a slightly different perspective down in LATAM. Anyway, not to spend too much time doing overarching sort of a siege discussion, but it is interesting. More fun about a quarter health right there as he was took some early damage. I think he was the one who had a wall explode next to him. As Nick gets quite aggressive here, Morph is going to fall all the way back as he's no good, very bad game just kind of continuing here across the board. And SBL is taking a lot of ground here, essentially for free. There's not much contest on those top floors. CINTANEGRA, outside of that one kind of wild run that they had, has been playing this pretty cautiously, I'd say, across the board.
Yeah, CINTANEGRA, last round they went for a little bit more of an aggressive roam, an aggressive strat, and try to throw off the bounds of Team SBL, but this time around they're going back to the roots, what they did back in round number 1, where they have morphed around a little bit, maybe try to find some sort of plug play, whether it's up blue or up main stairs, and eventually just go back to the site and try to hold your ground in this 5-on-5 or potential 5-on-4 execute if they are able to leverage a pick. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case as of yet, but you still get a couple of nitro cells, and you got plenty of Valkyrie cameras that could provide that information needed to get that opening pick that you want so that you can play for the late round. But with 50 seconds left, Team SBL, they're slowly starting to settle in and get themselves set up for their position for the execute. Hatches are being opened, walls are being destroyed, vertical is being made, OSA shields to be deployed, and eventually it all has to boil down within the next 30 seconds for either a diffuser to be planted to extend the round or for CINTANEGRA to close it out and get the win.
We're running out of time here. Spiff trying to challenge on basement stairs entrance. They gotta start going. You've got 20-ish seconds left on the clock right now. There has to be an execution. They have not gotten kitchen hatch open, and that is stalling them out because that's one whole vector of the attack they simply don't have. And here it comes. Big kills coming in. Nick and Spiff both on the board, but the shotguns again. It's Flacco and Fatal this time, putting it back. Nick walks into blue, no choice, gets absolutely shellacked. Morph adds to the kills right there, picks up 2 of his own. Flacco drops, and suddenly we're in a 1v1 and it runs out of time.
Wow.
Solid effort there at the end to try and wrap that up, and it just is too little too late on the side of SBL. Or SBL.
that was super close for Poison. I mean, it got all the way to a 1v1. But Team SBL, one issue that I will always say that they've had, I feel like it's not even just a Team SBL thing. I think it's a player thing because many of these players come from rosters in the past which have been rather slow, rather deemed to get that, and not in a bad way. It's just sometimes they don't get the wheels turning when they need to, and they spend too much time for the setup and don't give themselves enough time for the actual execute. I mean, Team SBL, they had a good 45, 50 seconds left on the clock where they could have been comfortable, started to get set up, and maybe try to hit for an execute with 30 seconds, 35 seconds left in the round. Just give yourself that extra little bit of buffer time, because when stuff hits the fan, it gets tough, especially in the last 5-10 seconds when you have to run into Mossberg shotguns and stuff. It doesn't give you time to actually throw the utility and to coordinate a drop or to coordinate that attack. Instead, you have to just kind of run at them and hope that one of you are going to get the refrag. And unfortunately, if CINTANEGRA, who are a very good team, have their guns up and ready for you, it's not easy. It is not easy at all.
Yeah, it's one of those things too where it feels like it's a consistent kind of like issue right across Siege, and you're always trying to figure out your timings, you're always trying to figure out your executes, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And there are teams that ride that edge. I mean, there are really genuinely teams who have made that their whole play style, these very complicated setups, and then a 20-minute burst of violence a la John Wick, and it's just over, and they're the ones standing when the smoke clears. But it is a razor's edge for a reason, and I think SBL finding that out just a little bit right there. But I'll give them credit, Glimpse. They're holding on by the belt here, right, as we come into round 6. A 3-3 definitely possible here as we set up for Gym Bedroom. This site did not go particularly well for CINTANEGRA last time. I would not feel super confident if I was in their position, and Caden T has kind of been hung out to dry a little bit here over towards Cash. It's not the strongest hold position there, but you sometimes see teams set up on this site.
Definitely not a favorable position for Caden to be sitting in, but still try to at least get a pick for himself. Try to delay the time of this pick just a little bit longer. Walls are being opened, lots of phantom pressure being established here by Team SBL, and that's the biggest concern, especially for CINTANEGRA, is where are Team SBL going to end this round? I mean, everything seems open, and slowly they're being confined back into the realm of the actual bomb site. And as it continues to boil down into that position, it just gets uglier and uglier for these teams. But time ticking down, and again, the opposite could be said. If Team SBL aren't ready to go when they are supposed to be, or don't give themselves enough time, then you'll see exactly what happened last round, where they end up losing because they just don't have enough time to use their util and work together as a team in that final tense last second exit.
I do feel like this site lends itself a little bit better, though, right, Clemps, to like those bursts of action. There's more open angles. You don't have to worry about popping a hatch, for example. Certainly, you can see the members of CINTANEGRA are waiting for it, right? They have a good idea that it's coming. And slowly but surely, these defensive layers are getting peeled back one by one. Construction appears to be in the hands of SBL now. They're going to go ahead and blow out the wall to Logi. This is good stuff here. Asian pushing forward, leading the way with the DMR of all things. As the flash grenades come in. Good swing right there. Should pick up a kill for free. He'll pick up another one. He'll pick up a third. Asian unstoppable walks in, starts killing. Flacco now the only one left alive. A beautiful execute right there by SBL. Just eats the defensive team alive. He's just gonna run. Run, Flacco. Not fast enough.
The entire flood of Team SBL came over those main stairs. They didn't have diffuser in their pocket. They were worried with the little amount of time, if there's a Valkyrie camera or something in sight, that they may not have been able to get the diffuser down. So they made the call, we're going to kill this guy. And unfortunately, Flacco is just not able to get away there. But really solid stuff out of Team SBL. Again, another attack where they did finally get themselves going with just enough time, right? 30 seconds is when they started executing into Logi. And yeah, some could argue it's a little slow, but with how much emphasis was placed into logistics by CINTANEGRA and how crucial it is as a part of the bomb site of Gym Bedroom, it was worth that risk of trying to take in a Logi because you saw how many kills they were able to net and get out of it. And overall, really, really solid stuff out of Team SBL. But now we swap over to the defensive side for Team SBL, and we swap over to the attack. for CINTANEGRA, but here is where it gets tricky, right? Because you got that 3-3 half, and now you've got to see if we can at least get themselves into overtime for both teams, because this is, like I said, and like I had shaped it up to be, feeling a little bit more attacker favored, not necessarily fully attacker favored, but it's a little bit more friendly to the attackers. So CINTANEGRA absolutely have an opportunity here to take it on their half and get a 4-2 attack.
That's fair enough. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really want to see CINTANEGRA have a little bit more aggression, like a little bit more snap. It's funny because we were talking clips at the start of this about how LATAM is famed for being really aggressive.
You'll hear all.
CINTANEGRA.
Let me say something funny. You'll hear people say that is a Mexican player. That is a LATAM play, because it is. Because some people, they just have guts that no one else does, and it is insane.
It's true.
It is incredible, because the plays that they make, no one would think of it out of their mind, because the plays are just so insane that you're like, no one in their right mind is thinking of this. But these guys are smart. They know how to catch people off. They play a lot of rank. They play a lot of scrims and comp. And they have good experience in the game where they'll hit you. And that's how I feel like a lot of these LATAM teams really get ahead of teams in the more major regions, is by doing things like that. And you win that mental game in a subtle way that's just enough to tilt them and tilt that favor towards yourself.
And you know, that's what I'm saying. I'm a little surprised. I feel like CINTANEGRA was pretty quiet. Like, they really let SBL dictate the pace of gameplay. It's not that I necessarily expect them to, you know, be vaulting out of windows or whatever. I was just surprised that they were so passive in their defenses. They really were waiting. We saw kind of one bold push, and that was about it. So here on the offensive side, I'd really like to see them kind of lean into the aggression just a little bit more, and at the very least put SBL kind of through their paces, you know, like get them sweating a little bit, see how they do when the vice is really put on them here. And so far, CINTANEGRA in this round has not been able to set up a situation like that, Glimpse. They're just kind of waiting it out.
But a lot of emphasis here in the kitchen for CINTANEGRA. You've got Fatal holding his angles, and they're trying to get that kitchen hatch open, but Asian is still threatening down below with the potential of an impact at the end of the hatch. Nick is trying to trick that church wall from getting open, but it's painfully open as both impacts have missed their mark in some way, and now that wall just might be open very low. It is at the very bottom, but still, there's not much to do to be comfortable. And now, with the bottom of the wall being opened even further and no more impacts to deny it, it gets even more uncomfortable for Team SBL. As Spiff relocates into the corner, will take the swing and wins the engagement against Flacco. That is huge, as Nick now collects one onto Fatal. The walk comes through finally. Morph finds one back for CINTANEGRA. Caden gets one back, but is refragged by Rice, and Asian cleans up the last body as Rice doubles up onto Skimzy. And a really solid defensive effort by Team SBL. CINTANEGRA just didn't really use any utility, no flashbangs, nothing to... No. I would argue, you know, you don't want to necessarily give away what you're going with for your attack, but you want to flash your opponents off those angles so you can at least try to have an advantage while you're walking into all the doors and angles that they're holding.
It felt very bare bones, just like as an attack goes, just all bare bones. Like they just kind of shoved their way in there, Clips, and got shot. It almost kind of felt like what CINTANEGRA was trying to set up for against SBL, but just executed better. You know, like, oh, let them come to us, and as soon as they get into a vulnerable position, like, we'll unleash hell and we'll pick them apart and all this other stuff. And yeah, it worked. It's just not in the way that CINTANEGRA, I think, wanted it to. And this, I think, sets up a bit of a problem here for CINTANEGRA, because, I mean, obviously that was only one attacking round. I don't want to make broad sweeping statements, but as we look on here to, you know, the secondary bomb site, I'm not sure that kind of attacking style is going to do very well against SBL. I think they're just going to keep eating this up unless you can kind of find something that really discombobulates them. They're just going to have it for breakfast, because why not?
Felt like CINTANEGRA just didn't have like a plan to attack. It felt like they didn't know how to deconstruct the defense that Team SBL put in place, right? And that's where their issue stemmed. Most of these Hispanic and LATAM teams are rather aggressive. They're rather fast in their round, right? They like to take space aggressively and quick. And yeah, they do the right things where they do open the walls and they apply that pressure, but it felt rather slow and rather lacking in pace from CINTANEGRA, especially the common pace and almost common standard from their region. Caden, the rest of the team now slowly trying to speed up that pace that pace in theory, and you'll see these walls get open. They'll take their time, but eventually when it's go time, it's typically sooner than later, and definitely not often at that minute or less than 30-second mark, like what we kind of saw that last time around.
Yeah, and they're opening up some space, right? They're doing their job here. Slowly but surely, they're getting the things done that they need to in order to make this attack a little bit more viable. And the same thing that I said, you know, last time we saw this site holds true for CINTANEGRA on the attack. It's a site compared to basement that has a lot more open angles, can be a little bit easier to establish pressure. Aggressive push by the looks of it coming off the back side of this as they're trying to get this wall open. Good use of the Roteros right there to take down the electrical wire. Those batteries can't defend that wall if they're gone. Fatal's got it wide open here, and can Quarter maybe start to lead the shove here if they can get themselves in. As the diffuser too, looking to be glimpsed like they're trying and just get this into Jim as fast as possible and get that plant down. But I feel like they're going to need something, either more bodies or a different angle on the setup here.
They also can't defend that wall if there's an RCXD blowing up right at your feet. Spiff was forced off the bandit trick. That puts even more pressure on SBL, and you can see, I mean, Rice sitting in a very uncomfortable position there on the mattress. But CINTANEGRA are quiet. It feels like they're standing still. I mean, the only person really doing anything actively is Skimzy with the Rotero drones, and Morph is able to at least open a little bit more pressure up. But Team SBL still feel a little bit comfortable. Yeah, they're in some tricky spots, and yeah, they're not feeling the best that they could be in sight with some of these walls being open, but they're still able to move around freely. And the issue is, CINTANEGRA, where are they? Where are they at for their attack? You got the diffuser and Jacuzzi, okay, but how is that going to get in the gym? How is that going to get the bomb down? Flacco will try to work his way up the main stairs, but Spiff is right here, and there's going to be no one to get his refrag if Flacco isn't able to win this one.
Oh, what a kill by Spiff right there to start cleaning things up. 2-4 already, and finally Caden moves. Almost grew roots hanging off the edge of the wall right there, but he's way too late to the party. No triumphant ride of the Rohirrim here for this poor man. He is shut down by Asian, and honestly, calling him a baiter in the chat. Oh, that's brutal. Anyway, it was not good. Where's this sudden stall? It's like they're in a plane, you know, and you go up too fast, too at steep of an angle, and the engine just stalls out, and you just kind of float for a little bit. It's wild that they're not attacking a little bit more aggressively.
It is really slow, like way slower than what we're used to with this. Yeah, we're in a meta where attack is typically slow. But for the region of LATAM, they've just always been an aggressive region. Oh, that's been their name. Like, anyone that plays against LATAM teams are like, wow, they're extremely aggressive, they're in fast, and they're in-your-face type of gameplay. We just haven't seen that from CINTANEGRA. We haven't seen that traditional play. And that's okay. But that's something that works really well against Team SBL. I mean, looking at some of their previous matches, especially that Osiris one that, yeah, we've referenced a couple times, but it's because it's what knocked Team SBL into that lower part of their bracket in their group. Right. And if you pick up on that a team struggles when you're just in their face aggressive, and that's native to you, and you're used to that, and that's something you play against all the time, you should be able to implement a little bit of that. Just flavors of it. It doesn't have to be your entire game. You don't have to do it the entire time. But just a little bit here. A shake of salt there. A dash of a spawn peek here. And you might be able to just throw off the game of Team SBL. And CINTANEGRA do change their strategy. They try to be more aggressive in their roam strategy or in their attacking philosophy. But it's not been enough to where it's really thrown Team SBL off their game. And that could be due to the fact and attributed the fact that Team SBL have a lot of very veteran players on their team, a lot of very experienced players on their team.
I mean, you say that, but we were just talking at the start of all of this that there are veteran players on both these teams. Some of these guys have on the side of CINTANEGRA have been to the mountaintops. It's not like they're not used to playing in a high altitude environment. You know what I mean? So this is just, I mean, look at this. This is just rough. I mean, look at all the hard breach that's being consumed here to get this open, and they'll finally do it. But compared to the relative ease which we saw SBL get this open, this just looks, to continue using your cooking metaphor, it's just a little half-baked right now. And they still have plenty of utility to blow through here, and that's the roughest part of this, is that SBL still has an F-Naught on there. They have pretty much all their F-Naughts intact. It's a minute and a half into the round, and CINTANEGRA has not even really set up a viable attacking angle into CCTV, much less from any other direction at this point in time. And I don't want to be too hard on them, but I'm just surprised, Klims. I expected a little bit more out of them on the attack.
I think you should be hard on them, considering they tried to, for lack of a better word, half-ass their attempt of opening the main wall. And they basically just mavericked some of it, right? And then they tried to open the wall with as much utility as possible. And guess what happened? They couldn't get the wall because he got impact tricked by Spiff, because they see that and they're like, oh, well, that's an easy way to open the main wall. And all that utility is gone, and now all that time spent where you could have really just mavericked the wall. It's a safe thing to do on this site. It was lazy. It was poor effort. And if you're going to spend the time bringing the Maverick, who is not always up on Clubhouse, I mean, you do see Maverick bans time and time again, even if he's maybe not as good as he once was, he's still strong. And the fact that Maverick is up, and you try to open the wall in just a lazy way, just does not feel anything good. Hayden will try to make a miracle play up the red stairs. It's not going to happen. His teammates double behind him. Poison, a little angry at the railing at the top of red stairs. Had to dump the rest of the magazine of that one and allow Spiff to clean up that final kill. As Team SBL will take match point on their map pick of Clubhouse. It is expected because it is their map pick, but I have to agree with you, Tristan. I just feel like that CINTANEGRA have not been the team we expected them to be, and Team SBL looked infinitely better as their opponent.
And you know, yeah, it's the map pick of SBL. Sure, it's a bread and butter map, though. I mean, this is basic. This is as basic as Siege gets. I mean, you can make the argument that Oregon is maybe more basic, you know, but like this is it. You're playing in the kiddie pool on this one, and they just can't seem to make it work. It was genuinely, it felt like at the end of that round, I saw what they were trying to do with Aiden coming up the stairs, trying to establish kind of a crossfire, a pinch, anything where they could pick up a kill. Just didn't work. And sometimes there are maps that are like that. That's what I was thinking as I was watching. It's like, oh, you know what, GG's, just go next. Like you're this one's lost. Something's not clicking on Clubhouse. I don't know what it is. You have to look ahead. You're probably going to lose the match point round. It's okay. You'll be a map down. You still have an opportunity to win, and it's rough to have to kind of make those estimations, but that's just genuinely what it feels like.
Attackers must locate and defuse.
Hopefully CINTANEGRA can pick something up, figure something out on their attack, and just do something else, because so far nothing has been working out. Team SBL have had all the right answers and responses to the attack, whereas on Team SBL's attack, they didn't always have the right answer. And that was something that CINTANEGRA were able to take into, or could have taken into their attack, and tried to find a way to not give Team SBL all of the answers. But unfortunately, they have, and that's why the score looks as lopsided as it has, as Team SBL a flawless, rather, defensive half, and now get to go back to the favorable bomb site of basement.
Drop the diffuser.
CINTANEGRA look a little bit better with their attack. I mean, they're taking space rather quickly. They've already got all of top floor control completely established, and they've starting to get the mid floor of bar and all of that established. But it all comes down to the exit, because both teams have been able to get to this point pretty early on in the round. But it's all about the final 30 seconds or so that you give yourself to actually make your attack work.
I mean, here's the aggro coming from Skimzy, right? Like a good, aggressive push threatening blue. Really kind of put SBL maybe on the back foot a little bit. I mean, I think you can get the vibe of how confident SBL feels right now in their ability to kind of control the pace of gameplay. Good attempt by Fatal right there. He can't find the kill. But to go back to my point, you can get a sense of how confident they feel. They're running Maestro. Like, Maestro's a great op. He's one of my absolute favorite ops in the game, but he is not an operator you take against a team that is like rushing you down and keeping you on the back foot. That is an operator you take when you feel confident in your ability to dictate the pace of play and to take full advantage of information to kind of force opponents to do things the way you want them to do. It's a really interesting pick, and I think probably speaks quite a lot to how confident SBL is.
It's also rather handy to have an LMG in the last 15 seconds of every round that your teammate or that your opponents keep pushing you in, right? Reload or anything like that. Let her rip. Let her eat. Nation's been letting her eat so far in this match, so I can't particularly blame him. Morph will get the rest of the dirt tunnel open as Nick has used. is, but still, it's just that waste of time that you put. I mean, CINTANEGRA have had this control for since the 2-minute mark of the round, and they're just making their play and drop at 30 seconds left. It's taken them a minute and a half to drop on a moto, and they haven't flashed. They haven't used any utility to start to coordinate their execute. 20 seconds hit the clock. Spiff gets the opener on the Fatal. You hear all the ripping through their opponents as Asia gets one. Poison will clean up Skimsy. It's just a messy attack. I mean, what is going on from CINTANEGRA? There's no coordination. They all funneled in one by one, and it was the easiest round ever for Team SBL as they take their map pick of Clubhouse in our first quarterfinal match of the night, and only quarterfinal match of the night, and a 7-3 victory. And going into Oregon being the next map pick, Tristan, I'm really a fan of Team SBL, at least through that, because it's ugly.
I mean, that last round right there, that's circular. Like that didn't look any different from the first round in the way that played out. The first round of the defense, I should say, there for SBL, that didn't look any different. It was the same thing, set up, and then they just kind of walked in, and SBL was just like, oh, thanks. Like, Alda's gonna get some kills.
When you take a minute and 45 seconds from the time you had control of everything, right? I mean, when we would see teams go, on SSG roam, right, and having to clear all of those bodies that the defense has, and it takes them 2 minutes to do it, and they get 30 seconds to rip open the floor, they were still attacking faster and sooner and getting more aggressive into the site than CINTANEGRA was. And sure, with the SSG roam, it's a different style setup, right, because everything's open and there's different ways that you're playing it, but still, the fact of the matter is that CINTANEGRA are just painfully slow. And going into a map like Oregon, where it takes time to clear these positions, and it's a very execute-heavy map, I'm concerned on that basis, and I'll be interested to see what they switch up going into their pick.
Yeah, that's a justifiable concern. I feel the same way too. I think I expected better out of them, and I think they probably expected better out of themselves. And we'll see if they can, reach deep down inside themselves on their next map pick and pull this one together. We'll be right back with Oregon here after this break. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back here to this quarterfinal match of the Spring Burst here on Xenon Gaming Series. CINTANEGRA Esports versus Team SBL, and CINTANEGRA not looking particularly hot there on Clubhouse, but maybe Oregon is the state for them. I'm Corbeck, and Klimps is here alongside me as we get ready to hop into this map. And we're picking up speed here, Klimps, because we're about an hour late on this. It's okay. Speaking of picking up speed, though, talk about CINTANEGRA. They need to find something to get their pace up. That's for sure.
They're definitely getting speed ran a little bit. So the pace of this game has gone much faster. And honestly, I would feel it feels like the match has just completely flown by, even with all the technical delays and stuff that's out of our bounds and control in the background. But yeah, it's just ugly. I mean, we talked about it in the break that it just felt like CINTANEGRA were not the team we were expecting them to be.
No.
Through this match so far, and that's not to say that that can't change or turn around, and that's not to discredit at Team SBL, because I think that they've played fairly solid throughout this match. But I would argue that CINTANEGRA have been, rather than Team SBL winning every single round and being a winning team, it's more of CINTANEGRA just being a losing team based on some of the plays that they're making. And honestly, rookie mistakes, for lack of a better way to say it, that they're doing. And they're not rookies. They're very veteran.
Yeah, they have no excuse, right? Like, they have no excuse. And to add to that, I mean, if you looked at one stat and you kind of honed in on it, I'm sorry we're not talking about the bans, but there's not a lot going on here. The most interesting one is Grit. But even then, it's just kind of, yeah, I get it. He's an intel boy. You don't want him. But I was gonna say, if you wanted to hone in on...
Crim bans are in. But continue. I want to hear your point.
There. No, I was just gonna say, like, if you look at one stat, and we don't necessarily have it, but it would be first deaths. I mean, I think SBL killed first in probably 75% of those rounds, if not more. There was like one or two rounds in there where CINTANEGRA got the drop on them. Almost consistently, SBL was taking down a member of CINTANEGRA at the very start, and it was slowing things down. It was wrecking plans, and it was really, making it hard for them to get the setups they need. And starting off on the attack here on Oregon with an SBL team that already has that kind of confidence boost coming off of Clubhouse, and you got to be a little bit worried here, Klimps, about CINTANEGRA's kind of ability to avoid continuing to add to those first in round death.
Yeah, I'll say this, Tristan, that CINTANEGRA, at least from my math, went 3-7 in opening picks, and then I also attribute, whenever I kind of track stats throughout the game and stuff, I also attribute like mid-round wins, which is essentially if I feel that a team has been successful in the mid-round, I give them a win. If I feel that their mid-round has not been great, I give them a loss, or I give it a trade if both teams feel rather even between the two. And in that match, I felt very confident on the SBL side, not very confident on the CINTANEGRA side. I gave Team SBL 7 mid-round wins, so only one to CINTANEGRA, and then there was one trade, being that missing round, like 10. That total win Yeah, just a little bit rough. Or there was 2 trades. Sorry, my math is bad. You can tell it's late for me, and my brain's been doing math all day for work. So, clearly, I am beyond my bounds talking about math. But point being, Kristen, that CINTANEGRA have not looked good in the early round or the mid round. And that is where Team SBL is not a team that necessarily always excel at. And so to see them be as excelling as they are, as Rice gets the opening pick, something we were just talking about, how imperative it is for CINTANEGRA to stop this, to mitigate this, yeah, it's just rough.
Just walked into it too. I mean, really, truly walked into it, and just face checking. I mean, come on. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll look at what we still got on the board here. I'm not going to belabor it. I think you and I have both made a point pretty conclusively there of what's lacking. And don't even get me started on the trade game. Actually, it's been appalling. But Caden there, getting a kill onto Asian. That'll turn it into a 4v4. A little bit of life here still in the CINTANEGRA side. They're not completely broken down at this stage. An F not going out right there. Nick still has the one on bunkered door activated. He doesn't actually really need that. Good drone right there. We'll give him an idea of where Rice is. Skimsy's going to challenge that. Quite bold-faced challenge right there. If the shotgun had maybe even lurking around those stairs, but felt confident enough to do it. A lot of territory taken here, Klims, but they got to make something happen with it. This should be a big help, though, getting that phone hacked.
Something so slight that many of you probably didn't even notice. Rice, instead of immediately flicking down and shooting the drone, trying to challenge anyone that's walking behind that drone. That's something that a lot of players make the mistake of, is immediately shooting that drone, trying to run away. And often as they flick down at the drone, they get swung by an attacker pre-firing them because they've got perfect information. So I really like the discipline. It shows the experience level and the caliber of siege that we're playing between these teams. The respect that Rice has for his opponents to be having a hot drone essentially with someone just a second or so behind it, trying to take that space. Smith is going to press on the tower stairs, but has to get out of dodge. He's going to flash. Somehow he takes someone with him, but it wasn't even the player actually going for the aggression. Rice gets a pick back, and CINTANEGRA down in the man advantage. They lost the opening pick early on. They've been a little slow, and Team SBL have been better in the trades as the round timer continues to boil down. Only 20 seconds left. These fear mines are really starting to punish CINTANEGRA with how late they're pushing. Caden walks into freezer. There's no one watching Rice at all. The issue is Caden has the diffuser, and he's pushed so deep his teammate can't help him out. Flacco now has to get the kills, and with seconds left on the board, Poison with the shotgun will put him away, and Team SBL win round number 1.
Stars in his eyes right there for Caden. I reminds me of like a football match, a soccer match, where a player just won't pass the ball. Like, so you think you can score the winning goal? You're on Ash. Ash is a gunner. You got the gun in hand. You're gonna get all of these guys, and instead you bury the diffuser in freezer. That's rough. I mean, it's rough. I mean, you made a really good point about the way in which SBL was playing it in a very professional manner, just even from one little aspect of their play, and that's kind of how it feels. And I mean, I will say, I think CINTANEGRA at the last stage of that attack looked slightly more convincing than they did on almost all of their clubhouse attacking rounds. Like, they had a good little set piece there with the kind of rotation around bodies on the basement stairs, trying to catch, Rice off guard. That all looked pretty good. It's just when push came to shove, a little bit of greed right there from one player, maybe just a little bit of overconfidence, let's say. Greed is a very negative word. Overconfidence gets them, but Rehost, by the way, looks like coming down the line right there. They lose Skimsy. So we'll see if that results in that immediately. Sure enough, they're all leaving, so they'll kind of force the issue whether they like it or not. We'll take a quick little pause here. And yeah, only one round of the book, so there's not a ton that we can talk about there, Klims. But an interesting one, I think, from the SBL perspective, because they held it very well.
I think Team SBL did a solid job with their roam, the positions that they were in. I think Asian got kind of hung out to dry on an island inside of kitchen, and had unfortunately no support from Freezer or anywhere else that he was going to be able to obviously play. You had Rice being aggressive early on, but as he ran away, there went away the help for Asian position. So he died. Yeah, it was kind of unfortunate, but he's still able to waste quite a bit of time, resources, energy, and that's really what you're relying on there, to have the leash in that position. Even if he's not able to be God himself and kill the entire lobby, at least he's killing off drones, utility, and time, the most important thing, and really the biggest factor. And honestly, if there's any team that's winning the game right now, There's Team SBL in the game. You got Team CINTANEGRA. But the real team that's winning the game is Time, because the timer has, I feel like, has been the biggest winner against both of these teams in the match. If you were to attribute a score to the timer, it is definitely more favorable. Definitely more on top of everything. But unfortunately, with the rehost, with a little bit of time, we won't spiral too much because we don't have so much to talk about through that first round. We'll go to a break. We'll see you all in just a few minutes once these players are back in the lobby. Fingers crossed.
Welcome back to the party here, ladies and gentlemen. A little hiccup right there, but servers are not down. Never fear. We will continue here. CINTANEGRA versus SBL. We are on CINTANEGRA's map pick of Oregon. I'm quarterback and Klims is alongside me here as we get ready to jump into round number 2. SBL picking up that first round, though it was a bit more of a near run thing than maybe some of those latter clubhouse rounds. CINTANEGRA making SBL work for it.
They are. Oh, no operator bands in there. It's okay. It's been a long night. Been waiting a long time to get a match going. But to remind you all, hold up. Grim, Fade, Ying, and I think Valk.
Valk. It was Valk. Yeah.
Yeah. I never wrote that down because I'm a terrible caster and forget things like that all the time apparently. So go me.
10 seconds remaining.
W me move, but that's okay. Anyway,
we become too reliant on technology. That's the problem. We just expect it to be there for us.
I'm also around technology 24/7, and data is my life at my job. So, doing data entry, wall casting, and then doing data for work all day. It's a lot of data. It hurts my brain.
A lot of data.
It hurts my brain. That's why I got all this forehead to support all the data going in there. I'm like a whole database. I'm a whole data warehouse, just right up there.
Solid state drive, just up there in your brain. Oh man. Well, setting up for about 30 seconds into the round now, and CINTANEGRA, okay, doing a little bit of scouting with the drones, kind of walking this in together. Pretty standard defensive setup from the side of SBL. I like Asian on the cap, and that one I could. Gonna put a little bit of fix in the wagon here if they're not particularly careful. I feel like just the way that CINTANEGRA has been playing, they could easily fall into that trap. And there you have it. First round kill from Skimzy. About time. One of the members here of CINTANEGRA picked up an early round kill. Of course, it doesn't last for long. Asian finds it, nearly gets another one coming back up the stairs. He'll get caught again. Skimzy finds another one. And the guns of CINTANEGRA are suddenly ringing out here on Oregon. This is the most action we've seen them get since probably about one of their defensive rounds over on Clubhouse.
And it's funny because it's not actually the aggression of CINTANEGRA helping them out. Yeah, they were in the building a lot faster than what we've seen in previous rounds and just in more successful positions. But Team SBL has really been just kind of running around at CINTANEGRA so far in this round. I mean, you had Nick being aggressive early on over in Big Tower, Rice dying rather early, and then Asia making that main source flank, finding one but getting taken down. Now Poison is left alone as Spiff falls and drops into a 1 versus 4. No trophy wall open. Poison will hang up his cell phone by running over the mute jammer.
bomb
The
has
issue
been
is there's
located.
drones on him. There's information aplenty. Yeah, he's got a few toxic babes. He's definitely got the tools to win out this clutch. The issue is, does he have the aim, and does CINTANEGRA give it away? No, Skimzy will take out the SMG-12, the superior weapon to the SMG-11, and take the long-range duel.
Oh.
And very nice shot, may I say. And CINTANEGRA will win an attacking round for themselves here on Oregon. It's their first attacking round of the series, might I add, because we did play Clubhouse before. It was 7-3 in favor for Team SBL, and it was a map that CINTANEGRA were not able to win any attacks at all.
I'm not gonna let you distract us. Superior weapon? Really? Really?
I mean, it's got more
SMG
bullets,
11.
Your bombs from
and it's technically
Yeah,
the 12th iteration instead of the 11th.
Sizes
So,
and everything.
in
Yeah,
theory-
SMG.
in theory, newer is supposed to be better as we upgrade the
Oh,
version. Now, that's
say
not always
that.
the case. That's not always the case. Sometimes the old-fashioned tried and true is better. I will say that. But, doing some boy math here, 12 is higher than 11, and therefore superior.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, as someone who hates the SMG but loves it because they're forced to use it if they ever want to play an SAS operator, I don't know. I'd stand by the SMG-11, but anyway, can't let these petty differences come between us here. Not when there's still a lot of map 2 left to go here. So we'll just keep chugging forward. They're going back to the same bomb site here, SBL, which is always a bit of an interesting choice and one that I don't necessarily agree with. But I can understand why, perhaps in the context of Oregon, they choose this. Right, this is a good secondary site. You're not going to get a much better defense going down to the first floor. CINTANEGRA, they've got a bit of an idea of what they want to do, clearly, because they brought Skimzy here, and they can just kind of dive in through one of these windows. I mean, Skimzy definitely kind of feeling it, right? The vibe is there. After that last round, Skimzy felt like they were all over everything that was being thrown at them by kind of SBL, and I don't know that SBL necessarily has a great answer to that. They've got Nick playing way off. Same with Asian, and these are wide-ranging roams here, Clemps. Asian all the way up in small towers, not going to be able to get back particularly fast.
Yeah, and Skimzy's in this cutoff location right under kitchen, right under the bomb site itself. Walk his way around. The issue is, does he know that Asian's over in small tower? I don't think that Skimzy has any inkling of a clue. He's over there. Nick has rotated away from lower freezer, but Spiff seems to know that maybe one of his opponents are down below him as well. It may be an isolation and a pick here, but at least being focused by CINTANEGRA on the Asian. They do know about him. Skimzy's holding the small tower drop, which means there's some sort of indication that they're aware. Rice barely missing out on the kill, but it's Nick to get the opener on to Flacco. So opening pick does go in favor to Team SBL, and Asian loses out his duel to Skimzy, giving CINTANEGRA a man advantage, something that we've not been able to say they've had very much, especially on Clubhouse. But here on Oregon, they're turning their fate around a little bit better.
Skimzy absolutely clinical in shutting down the position there from Asian. That gun is the MP7, not going to say anything for the rest of this round. And a good start here for CINTANEGRA. 4v3 against SBL. SBL forced back into their defensive positions. The two SAS ops here kind of locked down with SMG-11 in hand. More threatening off the closet breach here. I mean, it should be a more even-sided gunfight, but it's not. Caden drops through. Poison steps forward, caught looking by Fatal. Fatal, though, caught in that falls back almost immediately. More finds a good coverage kill there, but Nick is still alive, pushing past the armory stairs. And here comes Nick. That gives the game away. I was going to say, I don't think he knew necessarily that he was there, but Nick is on very low health here and basically dancing around the armory. Not a lot of good options for the Solus, but to try and go underneath and look for the diffuser right there. He will eventually get into a position where he can try and deny it with the impact grenade, but he picks the wrong place. And now Nick has a very unappealing task ahead of him right here. Diffuser in sight, steps forward in, can't find his next target, looks left when he should look right. It's an ugly gunfight between him and Skimzy. Skimzy's trying to find it. He won't get it. Nick picks up the kill. 30 seconds left, and everything now in the hands of Fatal.
Fatal tucked inside an attic. Nick goes prone, waiting for the swing, but he's going to have to be the aggressor. Fatal will not move. He will hold this angle for the rest of the round, if it seems. Is he not moving? Okay, I thought we may have lost connection. Fatal will find the headshot. Nick nearly getting the ace clutch. It felt like we disconnected from the lobby because both players were so disciplined, not wanting to swing each other. But as the defender, with the diffuser down, time is against your side, and CINTANEGRA gets the edge, winning that round and giving themselves an attacking lead here on Oregon.
like a quick draw contest from the old west right there. That was wild. They were both just totally solid in their positioning. Not even a mouse jiggle from either of them. Just complete focus right there. Wild. And good kill. Just kind of raked that AK across his headline. And that's all you need to do. CINTANEGRA picking up their second win. Dormitory, that is not a good sight for SBL, apparently. Even though that one was a little close there at the end, it did not feel particularly grand. They'll go back down to basement, where I think they felt a lot more comfortable in general.
Definitely looked better in the basement. I don't know if I would argue that they were more comfortable, but they were more aggressive and able to fight back against CINTANEGRA, which I feel like SBL this time around, when they lose picks, when they're lusing the man count, they're not getting aggressive when they need to, right? Kids' dorms, the reason why that site has slowly become out of the favor of being that primary objective that it once was is because teams have started to figure out on the attack that if you're able to get a pick, you're able to slowly leverage control, that it's so hard to fight out of that small compressed space with 5 people against a 5-man attack, right? You can go below, you can play the buck, you can do the vertical. When nades were good, it was obviously easy to do that from below. As Skimzy gets an opener onto Asian, going straight into T3, and the troubles just continue to spiral down here for Team SBL. But back to my point. Where was I? What was I talking about? I went on like a total tangent about something, and I've completely lost it. I'm so sorry.
I got distracted by Skimzy using the shotgun. So
yeah, I got distracted because Skimzy was inside and killed Asian, and I went squirrel, and I totally forgot. It was such a good point too. Oh, it was talking about dorms being a site that you have to fight out against, right? You can't just let yourself die and not try to fight back. And basement's a little bit of the same way. That's why you see Poison so aggressive here on the freezer stairs. The issue is he's probably going to force off this angle, and it's very pre-fireable as long as CINTANEGRA do their diligence in their play here. And they've got a lot of time and a lot of control in the meeting hall already, in a minute 45 to orchestrate their attack and finish into that backside of the bomb site, where it seems like, at least based on their pretexting and based on the control that they have, is their play.
You can almost feel the confidence kind of seeping back into the CINTANEGRA side after those 2 round wins, by the way. Just the way that they're playing, like, they just look like they're feeling themselves a little bit more. I say that, though, and then Morph gets absolutely macerated, obliterated by Poison with the shotgun right there at point-blank range. Not going to be anything done for that. It's okay. You're a 4v4 here. Still, you know, winnable. Nothing to panic about just yet. If you're sitting on the side of CINTANEGRA, though they are burning a lot of time, and this is a little bit more true to the form that they had on Clubhouse. So hopefully, they can pick it up just a step here as Nick sort of waits underneath, not quite in Harry Potter, playing just a little offset of Pillar and backing up and giving himself a little bit more room. And I don't know if they have a good idea, to be honest with you, Climps, of where that defender is.
And that moment where Poison gets back and gets aggressive is exactly where Team SBL need to be, especially on that dorm site. But as the execute folds through, Nick gassed off by almost his own teammate. He's been smoked off, but the Jackal doesn't check the corner. Smith finds one on a Fatal, and it's looking solid for Team SBL. Skimzy drops down the hatch. He's been blighted and drops right into toxic fumes. Poison will take the shot with the Mossberg, and he gets a 3K on the round. Really solid job by the Smoke and the IGL for Team SBL, and it's exactly what they needed. They had to get aggressive. When you're down a man, you've got to find a way to even the man count here on Oregon, and Poison making that play is exactly what leveraged them that round win, because doing a 4v5 on that basement execute against an attack is really difficult, but in a 4v4, it becomes much easier.
What was that? That was an all awkward execute. That was just ham-fisted. I don't know exactly what was going wrong right there. I mean, there was a lot of visual clutter, and you know that is a problem. But man, there's just no. If again, we're back to Clubhouse, right?
That's exactly how I felt.
Yeah, there's not a lot of rhyme and reason to what is going on the CINTANEGRA side. You're like, why are you dropping Hatch into that spot? I don't necessarily know why you're dropping Hatch. Like, what happened to the play coming down the stairs? You clearly had an idea of what you were trying to do, and then Team SBL just kind of, you know, eats them up, right? You got a guy who wanders into bunker, doesn't check the corner, and oh, it's just grim. I don't know if it's an informational issue. I mean, it kind of felt like it at stages of that last round, because I just don't think they necessarily knew where Nick was when he was lurking down there on the Azami. But It's wild too, coming off the back of 2 rounds where we know that they can do better, right? Like Clint's like, we saw them do better, and then suddenly they start off doing okay, and they hit that kind of mid-round bump, and then they're just back to, oh yeah, this is just like we were doing. Okay, I guess back to the old reliable of not winning.
Well, I'm glad that we see Team SBL at least swap around into meeting and because their defenses just have not been working. So at least they get to try something different. I think that the Brava is an excellent pick, especially to counter out the FNAP mines, the Bandit Choirs, the Butte Dampers, everything being brought. And Caden tries to make the swing, but he's not able to get the kill. And Nickel double up, getting 2 opening picks early on, and gets a 3rd onto Caden now, as more bodies need to pile up here for CINTANEGRA. Nick on an absolute terror so far here through Oregon. Asian will get felled down finally. Something swinging in the positive direction here for CINTANEGRA, but the damage is done. They're in a 2 versus 4. Nick's still on the board, full HP. I mean, he's as confident as ever, might as well be. And Skimsy's trying to fight this player from the hatch. He does win the fight. Spiff, a rare whiff out of him. But Nick's still on the board. He could ace this round and potentially add himself another clip into his, I'm sure, up-and-coming montage. But as time trickles down, as long as Team SBL do their job and their diligence and just holding the positions they need, CINTANEGRA are too low on resources and manpower to really make a solid attempt to execute work.
And they're not even really together either. And finally they'll get a body back over here. Morph's just gonna try and brute force it. Walks face first into Rice's gun. The ace is denied because Rice will pick up the next one too. And just another attack eaten alive by the members of SBL. I mean, they just consume any pressure that CINTANEGRA puts forward. They get that early round kill. You see CINTANEGRA struggling to even get kills back. I mean, things that should be no-brainers. I think it was Asian tearing down the basement stairs there on Fenrir. Should have been caught looking, completely missed it. Oh, I'm frustrated. I'm not even a CINTANEGRA fan or a CINTANEGRA player or, you know, anything associated, and I'm frustrated by the way that this is going, because that's just annoying, that last round.
Yeah, another really rough round for CINTANEGRA, and it's feeling more and more common. They had a good little roll for a couple rounds here on Dorms and Kids, but it seems like Team SBL have made the adjustment that they need. And getting more aggressive and changing the way that they're playing here on Oregon. Because at first it wasn't working. They were a little bit too passive. They were giving CINTANEGRA the space and the control and allowing CINTANEGRA to manipulate them any way they wanted. And now Team SBL are fighting back and they're putting that pressure in. I don't know if I like this call here from CINTANEGRA. They've got a rush lined up. They've got the blitz, the glass. This is probably going to be that play where you have the blitz try to find their way up white stairs and get into bunks and try to get that user down over near big window. But I don't know if it's the best play call, considering CINTANEGRA's only good attacks have been on this dorm site, and that's due to the poor play from Team SBL and their defenses. And now you attribute all of your energy into a potential rush, which is kind of a 50-50 play.
Poison being very cheeky here on this aggressive forward positioning, and they've got Mute Jammer set up there too, so no drones can necessarily come through and spot him. And yeah, it is an attempted rush setup. Blitz is going to go right through that window that he's looking at and just try and get up those stairs. I don't know if it's necessarily the best time to be gambling here. I mean, I guess you got to do something to try and catch SBL off guard, because it ain't been working the other way. Is the call coming out right there? That's just, I think, for intelligence purposes. They haven't actually rushed off the back of that as Spiff relocates himself over to Kids. Slowly but surely, the setup is here. They just need to pick their moment to go. I think they're trying to catch maybe like one person out, and they're not going to necessarily find it. Here comes the complete dump of the smoke grenades. The util out as well. Spiff holding on to the window right there. Morph will pick up the first kill. Spiff trying for an awkward angle on the other side. He misses his opening. Here comes Blitz right through the middle of it all. Out comes the blast there of the shield, but Asian will shut it down. Somehow unblinded. And a 4v2 here. Good smoke grenade over the top as Asian tries to salvage the situation. Gets one more. Poison still alive there despite exchanging some gunfire on the plants. He'll throw another smoke grenade out, but it won't find anyone. Morph picks up one more. 3-1 here. Poison at less than a quarter of his health will step forward into those tracks, and Morph will finish him off. So the surprise works. A little chicanery there. Clem's coming in big for the side of CINTANEGRA.
I didn't think it was going to work for CINTANEGRA, but it did, and it was really well executed. When you have planned rushes like that do work out, that are executed, I guess it's safer than sorry, because Team SBL did change up their strategy. They got more aggressive with their defense. You saw that they had the rotate master, they were playing forward positions, right? And they weren't doing their solo roams, which they had been doing previously here on the dorm's bomb site. And that was maybe a read that CINTANEGRA saw early on. They say, hey, Team SBL isn't doing the same defense that they were doing before, so maybe we don't do the same attack we were doing before. Maybe that's their read, and that's why they called that rush the way they did. It worked out very well. It was strong. All the pieces fell into place for them to get the round win. Issue is now they've got to go on the defense, which they were pretty okay on Clubhouse. I will say that they went 3-3 with Team SBL, so it's not that they can't defend. The issue is I felt that Team SBL had a lot of control over how they were able to manipulate the CINTANEGRA defense on their attacks, as long as they gave themselves enough time to go for those executes. And Oregon's a map that you can take stuff pretty quickly and give yourself that extra 10 or 15 seconds that would be really, really helpful when the round boils down to that red timer.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have hope here for CINTANEGRA on the defense. Like, there's got to be a reason they picked this map, right? Like, besides it just being basic building blocks, Oregon, and, maybe they watched a video about the Waco, Texas siege. I don't know. There has to be a reason that they picked Oregon, and I'm hoping it's because they feel really confident in their defensive setups here, right? This is a defender-oriented map, and they should be able to kind of unstuck themselves a little bit. I know that's not the most elegant term of phrase, but it definitely feels like they've been stuck. And that last round, I mean, I'll admit it, Clems, it was just good to see CINTANEGRA doing a little something different with a little bit of energy, right? Like, they were trying, they were putting the onus on SBL to react and not the other way around. We'll see if they can kind of maintain that attitude going forward into the defense here.
Swiftly, control has been made here by Team SBL. You'll see CINTANEGRA on their slight extension up towards the tower has fallen back, but Skimzy finds an opener against Asian. And those are the plays that are going to be needed to be made consistently throughout the defensive half, forcing CINTANEGRA to get picks and to get themselves in the advantage. And now all they have to do is stand still, force Team SBL to go for this execute with a weak hand at the fact that they don't have Asian anymore, try to dismantle at least someone in some sort of position, whether it's from a rear flank or doubling up bodies going in a specific position. But Rice will work down the main stairs, probably going to try to cause and make a lot of noise with those Capitao smoke bolts, maybe the incendiary rounds as well. And actually, just ends up getting a freebie on the Skimzy because there's not enough cover by the Azami barricades for that freezer mirror.
There's definitely not. Rice here trying to get some of those bolts out, just open things up a little bit here. Slowly but surely, territory being taken away here from the CINTANEGRA defense, and SBL just tightening like some sort of boa constrictor. We're getting to a late stage round execute, which was this thing that SBL was doing pretty well. Rice with the fireball there, just quick peeks, fires another one forward. That second one was relatively well placed. Morphed in an ugly position, forced out, walks into freezer, kills coming left, right, and center. Spiff picks up two. Fatal trying to fight it back. Fatal finds a double kill, but it's still a 1v2 with two players unmarked. And Fatal, the Predator, on the triple. The plant going down, the slow walk in. They're not faking it that time, though. Fatal has to be very careful about this. The stun grenade through, the stun grenade out again, and what's going on? Poison collects the easiest kill of his life.
I think Fatal was so blind he accidentally got off of flipping the door while he was sprinting and ended up just sprinting mindlessly through the bomb site. That is hilarious because it looks really dumb on the perspective of Poison, but it's actually just Fatal big flash to bits. If I'm Team SBL, though, I don't know if I'd be yapping that much in the chat because you guys almost threw a 4 versus 1. And that is a little bit concerning, but they were able to pull off and execute, especially even a little bit in the disadvantage, one you could argue based on the positioning and some of the differences in that round. But that take through freezer was so clean and honestly unexpected from me. I didn't think that that was the direction the Team SBL were going to try to drive themselves for main attack force. They got 3 of them inserted through freezer. You had Rice still making noise over from main, with that molly, and just perfect reads, ensuring that that player isn't going to swing the freezer head holes through the hallway. It's like they had just great information. There must have been a drone or something for Asian to have been watching to give his team that information to go for that freezer take, and it was really, really incredible on the side of Team SBL, and that, if they're able to continue to replicate that throughout the rest of their attacking rounds, we almost may see the inverse of Clubhouse, where it was a 3-3 split on their defense, but that it's a perfect sweep on their attack because of how clean it was.
Yeah. I mean, compared to the SBL that I saw on Chalet, this is such a stronger SBL side. They really look confident. They look like they're in control. I love it. I love the way that they're playing a lot of this. Like you said, that freezer execute was brilliant. And CINTANEGRA is not necessarily rising to the challenge. I mean, they did a little bit right there. I'm not going to take too much away from Fatal, even if their kind of final death was a little silly. But you just get the feeling that CINTANEGRA is not showing up with the same level of confidence right here that SBL is throwing out. But I say that, and then Skimzy just drop peeks the corner and absolutely destroys Asian, who by and large has struggled on Oregon compared to how he was doing on Clubhouse clips when he was a dominant gun, and he's sort of tapered off.
Yeah, it's so weird. Asian goes through these wild swings sometimes. It's like he's really, really good, really, really solid, and then just kind of gets quiet. What a shot by Nick, holding that player, dropping down the armory hatch, or that rather ran out of garage and tried to get aggressive on his teammate of Poison. Good job on the flank watch overall and capitalizing on the pick, getting that eventual late refrag, but they got it. That's the most important part. Issue is Poison's taking a little bit of HP, and of course losing Asian, a very solid and capable entry, does make it more difficult here for Team SBL. Also, those mirrors, which are currently closed, but now get opened up, also makes it a little bit more difficult when you don't have the Ash to deal with some of this utility that is around. And Rice finds a free fire. What a shot on the Fatal, who just gives his life away. All you have to do is wait for the execute if you're CINTANEGRA, but if you give away these picks, it's going to get uglier and uglier. But look, just the dirty angles that are being held. But if you stay alive and you wait, then you'll be better, and you'll be better off. And thankfully, CINTANEGRA are able to get that evening pick as time boils down and now get themselves into the advantage.
3-2. CINTANEGRA just trying to hold the line here, trying not to bottle it. Oh, that's awkward. That's right. What a good placement of the Wamais. That made Rice freak out so much with that first one. You saw the visible confusion right there. Kaden picks up the kill under Rice. Poison trapped in the entryway to the attic. Nothing to be done for it. Great round for CINTANEGRA, and one that they desperately needed to keep themselves in this mentally, at least.
Definitely. And I think that it's crazy to me, because if they had stayed there, it wasn't a perfect round play by CINTANEGRA, and I'm being almost nitpicky in the fact that they had a couple of players like Fatal, who was on the mirror, that swung and died and gave up his life. But if they're just more disciplined in some of those moments where they go and play back and they play those angles they pre-established, SBL, they didn't do any effort down below, and taking down the Ash early on also makes it significantly more difficult to clear out some of that utility that's placed deep in the site, allowing for those long angles, right? So if you're able to recognize that you've got a pick like that, and you recognize your opponent's lineup, hey, let's go play back. Let's play way further back at the site and make this near impossible for Team SBL to execute on. And thankfully they were able to do that, just maybe a little bit later than they would have liked and could have, had they been a little bit more passive after getting themselves that early advantage.
10 seconds left.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it was a good call from CINTANEGRA to try and kind of turn that into a war of attrition, essentially, there against SBL, really make them drag it out. I mean, paid dividends in the end, combined with some good utility usage right there. And I mean, a little bit annoying for SBL, but I think they're going to be okay. They're heading over to the tertiary site now, so we'll get an idea of kind of how they're going to go about this. Nick coming in on the sledge, a very solid choice there for some soft destruction, really put the pressure on some of these more established CINTANEGRA positions. Morphed holding pretty wide out through dining into kind of the construction area over there. We'll see if he can kind of catch anyone out. Blacko here with Caden on the top floor, but it does look like Caden's going to rotate back towards Big Tower. A solid defense, a good spread here from CINTANEGRA, actually able to react relatively quickly no matter where Team SBL comes in, if of course the calls are there for it.
Seems like Team SBL have got their sights set on a more traditional big tower take, where they get in, they open up attic, they set down the Osa shield to deny anyone playing on the attic hatch, and then they open up the stage wall, try to walk in and get that plant down. With CINTANEGRA having some of these angles closed off, especially that stage wall reinforced, it makes it more difficult to try to fight and aggress on these angles. So this is going to enable Team SBL to set up just as they wish to be successful here. Poison will walk up, EMP that wall, and then probably place down that Talon shield. Skimzy close on the door. Could be aggressive, could be dangerous, and almost gets the edge, but is just a little bit slow, and it will at least be able to shoot and get rid of that proc air jab. But now he really has to get out of dodge. He walks on top of a nade, though, which nearly takes his life. But Team SBL, they get the wall open. Skimzy just out of dodge, but he's in an ugly spot on those sandbags, and is surely to be on the receiving end of some flashbangs here from the side of Team SBL.
Yeah, it was a bit of an awkward fallback right here. And these zombie barricades, I mean, they're good setup here with the kunais, but they're not going to slow this down. Flacco now playing a dangerous game of pixies there, trying to get the Kiva barrier out, and he does. He's going to aggress on the back of that, but he looks away. He looks away, and Nick collects 2 in the attic. And that breaks open the defense right there. Look at Skimzy's aggressive positioning, but he can't bring the shots down. And nothing good is happening here for CINTANEGRA. They are trying to grab their enemy by the belt, and they are getting beat down for it. Fatal with a nitro cell underneath, and I mean, what are you gonna do? It's a 1v5, and there he goes. A flawless round for SBL. A solid answer to a CINTANEGRA round win.
Team SBL, poor Fatal, sitting there waiting for the nitro cell to go towards stage, but CINTANEGRA just had no one left in kitchen. Team SBL recognized that. They drone it. They aggress over into that side and end up going for the plant on that green hole doorway. Really, again, solid attacking stuff. And you've got to attribute that to the really ballsy play that Nick made up top. I think there was a little bit of information aiding him, yes, but to be able to hit those shots on those 2 players upstairs and net that attic control, deny anyone else from being on that kid's door so that you can get that bomb down in the green door. Really solid overall from Team SBL. I love that out of them, the ability to push and pull and just to go where they want and to get the control, work with what they have, right? When you get that top floor control, the safer option is definitely to go plant in the dining side. When you have the Osa on the board, that's exactly what they used. And overall, CINTANEGRA struggling a bit on their defense. And I don't know why the Azami... what procced them to turn around, because that was like almost the round losing play, and it's crazy. And that's what makes Rainbow Six Siege so special, is that one little thing like that could really spiral the entire round into a disaster. But that's almost exactly what happened, because if that player wins the fight, or at least trades their life or does damage, then maybe someone else is able to do damage and win the fight, or maybe it makes Nick feel a little bit less confident going into the next one. But since Nick was able to fry the first guy and the second one, that's what procced that round into a complete win for Team SBL.
Is my room a French bakery here, Climps? Because I'm feeling pain, brother. That's that was awful. I know, I loved it. I was like, oh, look at this aggression, and then just totally whiffed. Anyway, I won't beat up on it too much. Rice is panicking in the garage, as you are often wont to do. He forgot to get his oil changed. Skimzy now moving around here as well, and Morph is dropping back. Flacco with him. They're all falling back now. I don't think they're going to leave much presence up there on the top floor. Every chicken being called back to roost here for the CINTANEGRA side, and that's going to severely limit their options on what they can do here, Climps, but maybe a decision for the best, just considering how these 1v1 gunfights have not been going CINTANEGRA's way, despite whatever they have been trying to do.
Punch drills filled with sludge. Worried.
Yeah, hate it.
But one thing I'll note, I feel like Team SBL, they just have people that will randomly perform here on Oregon. Last time around, at least to my knowledge, it was Spiff dropping an absolute nuke back in their Osiris game, where they had what, 24 kills and broke the single map record here.
Crazy.
Incredible, right? And now Nick is not necessarily on pace to do the same, but is still having a very solid match at 12-6 through just 9 rounds. Into the 10th one can certainly extend on the kill total that he's at the moment. Solid stuff here from Team SBL. They're getting control that they need, but now they've got to work on this backside. Asian, has not died just yet. It's been a few times in a row where he did have that early death, but him on the board is certainly going to be more useful than ever here to Team SBL when they go for this execute. Fatal inserting himself into E-Box is an interesting choice. If he's right into, it could be really, really deadly for CINTANEGRA. And if he isn't, then it might just punish Team SBL, who do end up better off in the end of that engagement as Flacco's hit the ground and 2 members die with him.
Asian, the saving grace right there of Team SBL, because that was nearly real ugly. Fatal wasn't able to bring down the kill quite as fast as they needed. Skimzy taking a bunch of hits, and they need Skimzy to come alive here. Skimzy needs to get this kill, and he just cannot make it work. The MP5K, a little too much back and forth, not enough damage. Morph trying, there's the kill from Skimzy. It comes in, Asian gets the Viking crew cut, Skimzy gets aggressive, but Poison finds Morph. And unfortunately, with Flacco down, it's all in the back of Skimzy, and it's all too easy there for Poison to swing around the bomb chassis and pick up that kill. And match point here for Team SBL. CINTANEGRA just reeling here on their map pick.
Whoever there on SBL is letting Poison play Zofia. That's too aggressive of an operator for that guy. That was awesome. He got a good gun in his hands and got real confident real quick and was able to hit the shots. I'll tell you what. Quarterback, I've been rather impressed with Asia's ability to shoot back more so than ever as of late, because Poison is one of those players who's not known for being a strict shooter and not known for being someone who is flashy with the gameplay. Rather, he's known for his mind and his ability to outthink his opponents and outsmart them, right? And so to see him lighten up the scoreboard at least a little bit in that round gives good promise and is something that he's been doing more consistently as of late, which is also really, really a great sign for Team SBL. But going here into match point, potential series and playoff elimination point here for CINTANEGRA. They go back to kids' dorms. It was a site they were successful on. The issue is I just feel like Team SBL, they're going to get the edge, whether it's here on dorms or whether it's back at the basement, maybe even over in Meeting in Kitchen again. It feels like that even if CINTANEGRA win this round, that Team SBL are just too favored on any of the other sites.
I mean, I would tell you to have a little bit of faith in the ability of CINTANEGRA, but it's not. Faith has been sorely. The lack of faith is disturbing indeed, and it's a bit unfortunate here for the way things have gone for CINTANEGRA, that they just have not. It's again, it feels like the end of Clubhouse. It's just like you can't do anything right, you know. Like you just can't seem to do what you need to do. It's not like we don't have an idea of what needs to be done. It's just the actual getting it together is just not happening. Nick with that long sightline, that's nasty. I mean, hey, you got the gun for it. You can make that happen. It's a DMR for a reason, you know.
That's how you gotta play sometimes against these teams that do get aggressive, especially in moments like this. CINTANEGRA is certainly a team that can get aggressive, and we're trying to, at least in the early part of the round, where you saw Caden take a little bit of extra damage, probably trying to spawn pick. I think it was up the window, but he'll go and resort to holding really, really long angles against your opponent and just try to at least chip at them away and scare them off of the angle and scare them from running out on doing stuff like that for the rest of the match, should it continue longer this round. And Flacco on the big window is going to get pushed out shortly here with Asian down below playing that verticality, and Flacco has got to get out of this position, because even here, if you try to go for that swing, someone's sure to be waiting for you here from the side of SBL. There it is. Poison finds the kill, and Flacco just staying in his home too long, and that gives Team SBL a really, really good shot of closing out this round, unless Skimzy can make something back for it. He finds Asian.
Skimzy has sort of been, you know, the player here on the ball for CINTANEGRA on this Oregon map. Morph picks up a kill. Skimzy rolling that corner right there, falling back in, gets clipped by a hacked FNAT. It'll be Morph who picks up the next kill, or I should say Nick who picks up the next kill onto Morph. Good drop there from Fatal to pick that one up. A 2v2. CINTANEGRA fighting for their lives here in this quarterfinal as Rice makes their way in. Caden picking up one more, but do they know that Rice is in? I don't think they do. Fatal on the quick swing picks Rice head up off the floor. Well done.
Wow, nice shot by the Kaid on his fellow operator of the Nomad. Both of them coming out in the same season. I think, what, it was like Wind Bastion, I think is what their season was called.
Yeah, I think it was a Wind Bastion. Yeah.
I don't know. That's dumb. That doesn't matter. What matters is that CINTANEGRA were able to get that round win, which is important. because it gets them the opportunity to reach overtime here on their map pick of Oregon. My concern is, and I highlighted this in the beginning of the round, Kristen, was that
Attackers need to locate
CINTANEGRA
and
hasn't
defuse
looked
as many
good
bombs as
on
they
the
can.
basement site. They're 0 for 2 on it. Now they're going back to it, and they're going to try to at least be 1 for 3, which I'm not a numbers guy or anything, but the math isn't so good or in favor at all for CINTANEGRA, considering their win percentage is already 0.00% after the 2 rounds they've attempted here. But it's not to say they can't make the adjustment. They're bringing out the Goyo. I think that is a fabulous change, and dropping the Mara, which really hasn't been super impactful or effective against Team SBL in the way that
10
they've
seconds
orchestrated
left.
the attack. So bringing the Goyo, definitely a smart pick. I think that it's something that
5
could
seconds to go.
slow down Team SBL, especially in the late round. And it's really going to come down to CINTANEGRA
Attackers'
staying
objective is to locate a
alive,
bomb and
not
defuse it.
overswinging, not giving Team SBL any of these easy picks that they've been able to find, at least early on.
Yeah, it's the early picks have been so decisive. I mean, I was kind of happy to see CINTANEGRA kind of turn that one around, because we've seen many rounds, right? We were talking about this at the start of this map where, you know, one member of CINTANEGRA goes down early and that's it. The rest of the house of cards just collapses. And it was good to see them claw it back, because they proved that they could do it. You know, they can hang in this, and I still think they can hang in this. I mean, I don't think SBL is guaranteed to pick up a win on any of those rounds. As close as it was there at the tail end, when it was just the 2v1 at the very tail end, CINTANEGRA complete control, no hesitation. Skimzy picking up an early kill on Spiff, a great opening here for this, but then he gets caught by basically the oldest trick in the book, just a man hiding on one side of the door that you don't look at. It doesn't get more basic than that. Brutal.
Yeah, Skimzy probably wishing he had a little bit of help from his team, who has decided to bunker off and not really support their roamer, and kind of in good reason. I mean, they don't really need to if Skimzy's already gotten that one, but had Skimzy died and lost that engagement to Spiff, or not been able to pull off that flank, then you're a little bit more concerned and worried. And Caden gets too aggressive. This is the problem that we've seen with CINTANEGRA, and now they put themselves in, yet again, that band disadvantage. They have the utility. They had numbers at least even for themselves, and now they have to fight back at this one. Now they have to pray that that utility works for them. And with how much control and how much time Team SBL have left, they can bait out and execute, wait for some of that utility to be wasted away, and then actually execute on you when you have no utility on your side. And that's what is so concerning about the position that CINTANEGRA have set themselves in.
Morphed here, just waiting for something to happen. It kind of seems to, again, the vibe. It's been the vibe the entire night. They kind of just wait for things to happen, and it doesn't usually bode well for CINTANEGRA when they're that passive. Flacco falling back there, securing the elbow wall. Good call, at least. Buy him some time. Long-range shots here from Morph coming down. The flash grenades over the top. Too many bodies, too many guns there for Morph. As Asian just walks forward, destroys Morph. Triple kill for Asian on this round. He's going for the ace if he can find it. Gets caught by the FNAP, but he's still got flash grenades to burn. One comes over the top right there. He's got one more to go. He'll throw that in. Oh, two more to go. Flacco trying to hold it together. The shot's completely whiffed. Nick picks up the kill in the opposite direction. Asian rolls the corner. And that is that. Team SBL proving any doubters that they are more than capable of punching their weight here against a LATAM pro team.
It's the lack of numbers, the lack of bodies late in the rounds, and lots of mistakes tacking on to the CINTANEGRA side. Excuse me, as Team SBL really solid in that map. Asian yet again heating up just in random moments, but in the moments that matter the most for Team SBL to obviously lock themselves in to that win. And it's a great 2-0 victory, sending themselves into semifinals, which will take place tomorrow night. I'm excited to see the matchup. I don't know what team they would be playing. My guess is one of the teams from
Coastal.
Thursday. Is it Coastal? Okay, I couldn't remember what the bracket looked like.
Yeah.
So they'll be taking on Coastal Gaming tomorrow. I think that'll be an interesting series because Coastal has turned out a lot of heads, right? Everyone's kind of like, who's this team? Where did they come from? There were players that you know and you recognize and you're definitely fans of, but they're not, they haven't been around the block as long as some of these other teams and stuff. So seeing them have a really good performance is obviously very, very good for that side, but they're going to have a really tough match coming in tomorrow against Team SBL, who put up a pretty good showing against CINTANEGRA.
Fired up SBL. Let's be honest. They looked fired up. They looked ready to go. But it will be against Coastal tomorrow, just for reference for you guys, because there was some confusion. We had servers down, so we had to push some things around. SSGA versus Osiris. That's going to happen at 6 p.m. or 6 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on this channel. That's going to be followed by the winner of that game versus Aerial Arise at 8:30 Eastern. And then you can see the winner of this match. So I guess we'll be looking forward to seeing, well, it's definitely not CINTANEGRA, is it? It'll be SBL versus Coastal, and that'll be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern on TPL's channel. That's what everybody agreed to there at the end. So plenty of R6 action coming up here in the spring burst as we get down to the nitty-gritty of the semifinals. But for now, from all of us here at Xenon Gaming Series, thank you so much for joining us and have a wonderful evening.